Revere License Commission meeting. Today's meeting is a special hearing to hopefully bring to conclusion the license for the corner taste on Unity Ave in Revere. Commissioner Guanasso had an opportunity to review the information, but I think what I'll do is I'll give each council 5 minutes opportunity to just summarize their position on it, and then I'll make some comments, and then I'll let Commissioner Guanasso weigh in. Thanks. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Mr. Chairman, James Cipollina, 385 Broadway, Revere, on behalf of the applicant. As we're here last week and the prior week, the evidence sort of dripped out slowly, and to be as concise as I can in reviewing it, currently my client has a lease with the owner of the property, John Previty. Previty has owned the property, and the Previty family has owned the property for like 50 years. Prior to Diego and John having their lease with the Previties, the prior owner had a lease. That lease had an option. The option was exercised, I understand, and then it expired. The lease expired. No lease was entered into. During the course of the prior owner operating the business, there was an operating agreement whereby my clients were operating the business and were paying rent to the prior owner. Although the operating agreement, as it's entitled, is in your folder as an exhibit, I had mentioned or opined that the operating agreement so titled is not an operating agreement, it was a sublease. It has all of the earmarks of a sublease, where Diego and John were paying the prior owner for the right to operate under his license, paid a substantial down payment, and then paid monthly payments. Mr. Previty was here last Thursday, and Mr. Previty told the commission that he has but one lease, and that lease is with the applicant, and that the prior owner had two leases, an original and an extension, an option. At the close of the option years, that lease was not renewed. There is litigation in Suffolk Superior Court by which the prior owner has filed suit against Mr. Previty as the owner in the lessor, and also against my client, seeking money damages for breach of contract and other allegations. That's something that's separate and apart from whether or not the applicant is entitled to a common victualer's license under the statute. Well, the statute governing common victualer's licenses is fairly compact. I mean, it's not as complicated as 138, where you have to make all sorts of findings and conclusions about a full liquor license and the applicant's suitability and whether there's a public need and what the hours are going to be and so forth. It basically just says that the commission doesn't need to, and it is not obligated to issue any of these licenses, and may refuse to if it is not in the public good. Well, it seems that throughout the years, and I was just recounting with my client, when I grew up in Beachmont back in the 60s, that was a drugstore. And then every use after that seemed to be some sort of, it was a bakery, a food service establishment, a restaurant of some kind. And indeed, the prior owner operated a restaurant there as well for a number of years. So it would appear that there is a public need, and it does serve the public good. Is there anything disqualifying about my client that would preclude him from holding a common victualer's license? And I think that the background that was done pursuant to the application and the inspections would say, no, there's nothing that's preclusive. So the bottom line would be, as we're here today in the beginning of October, my client has a lease. The lease is good, the lease is live, and you have a copy. And the owner said that He doesn't have a lease with the prior owner. That expired. His preference was to enter into a contract with my client. There have been no complaints, either by the inspectional arm of the city of Revere, or any consumer complaints, I believe, I think it's about a year and a half if you put together the time that they were operating under the prior owner's license, at least, I think, part of 2014 through 2016. The place is clean, consumers don't complain, city doesn't complain, it's going along as it well should. And when you don't hear about these places, it's probably a good thing. Just in closing, I would urge, and I know that there's been a whole lot of talk about what's going on in Suffolk Superior Court. I don't represent these gentlemen in their contract dispute with either the prior owner, and I don't represent the landlord in his contract dispute with the prior owner. But I think it's sufficient to say that if the Superior Court says, you have, to the prior owner who's here in opposition, you have the right to possession of those premises. Now, I'm not sure that they're asking for that. I think they're asking for money damages. They may also be asking for possession. But nonetheless, if the court says you have the right to resume that lease or get paid, and my client is thereby preempted from the premises by a court order, he'll leave. He'll leave. And whether or not there's an appeal from that, or so, again, I can't speak to that because I'm not involved in the contract dispute, but I think that the issue is very narrowly framed here, and whether or not he's there, and he's there now, and whether or not he's qualified to fry an egg. Thank you.
Thank you. Record, please.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Corey Rhodes. I'm an attorney with D'Ambrosio Brown, LLP, 14 Proctor Avenue in Revere. I represent Mawad Abu Galala, the owner of Corner Taste and the lawful tenant at the property of 1 Unity Ave. To put it plainly, as alleged in my client's Superior Court complaint, we have an employee who is trying to run off with my client's business, a business that he has owned and operated for at least the last 14 years, invested significant time, energy, his blood, sweat, and tears into. Last year, my client brought in the applicant to help him manage his business. Not 3 months after signing that contract, the operating agreement that's been provided to the commission, the applicant chose to stop proceeding under it. Stopped paying, ended up concluding with the landlord to get a new lease and to freeze my client out of his business, change the name, everything like that. Moreover, to talk about the landlord's comments from last week, of course the landlord said he has tenancy. The landlord is also being sued by us from the very beginning because we think they acted in concert to deprive my client of his rights in this business. And this isn't a sublease. This was my client's agreement for the continued operation of his business. That's what he thought he was doing. That's what he thought he was entering into with this gentleman, and it seemed he had different plans after 3 months. We do talk about how these common victual license in a traditional sense are very simple. You're looking for a lease, you're looking for inspections, that it's safe to operate there. But as mentioned by counsel, there is an element of the public good. This is something the commission has broad discretion to review. And common victual license should not be granted where, in the commission's opinion, the public good does not require it. Really, I think what we're talking about here is, does this applicant, do they really meet the standards of what should be someone's operations in the public and in the public forum? And I can assume if any of you commissioners entered into a contract, signed your name to an agreement, that you would diligently hold up your end of the bargain. Here we have an applicant who signed a 2-year agreement and after 3 months decided it wasn't for him. This is now why would the commission want to benefit this applicant, reward a license to him when he cannot act responsibly in the public forum? He breached his agreement, he colluded with the landlord, he's operated this business for over a year without even having a license and without having all the inspections in place. So I think we're really looking at something about how is this applicant in the public good. Beyond that, the council talked last time about his client being hurt, his business not being open. If anyone has been hurt here, it has been my client, who has not had his business, his property, and his income for over a year now. And if the commission does deny this license and his business does shut down, that is something that is bad. But I really do believe it will be a catalyst for these parties to come together and get this situation resolved. But I don't think otherwise granting this license today is something that this commission should be doing, given what's happened. Thank you.
Right, thank you. I'll give Commissioner Guanasso an opportunity to ask questions, and then I'll make some comments, and we can talk about the issue at hand.
Well, I guess this is really out of the ordinary to be here for a fourth time on a common victual license, and I want to start with apologizing for not being here last week, but it was a family emergency. Listening to both sides, I think for this board, although it's only a common victual license, we're just serving food, has become a tough vote, because I see both sides, but when I look at both sides, it seems more legal between the parties ending up in court and settling it there. On the other hand, as the council just said, I don't want to see it closed down either, and, you know, everybody's a loser here. So it's extremely hard, and I think taking into consideration the businesses going now, they have all the permits. I feel that I don't want to shut them down. I just don't feel that's the way to go. But I do feel that you have every right to go to court, and should this be reversed or it's proven that your lease was in effect, then I think that this license would probably be null and void at that time, or unless you decided to transfer it to another location. So for me, I'm really weighing a lot on the courts to resolve the problems between the two parties, and I feel that's all legal issues. For me, sitting here, as if this wasn't going on with leases and what contracts were, I would just be looking at a party coming in. He's got all his permits. He's been running the business. Everybody has signed off on it, and he's asking for a common victual license. And I think I've looked very deep at both sides, looking for an issue that maybe this board should look at a denial and just shut the place down. And I find it hard, other than what you people have brought before us, is there some grounds for both of you? Yes, I believe that. But does that affect our vote up here? I don't think so. So that's all I really have to say at that point. And again, I will say it's a common victual license. We're not talking a pouring bar, so I would like to see this resolved on our part anyways today, and make a vote on it. So, but I would like to hear how Commissioner Quarantello feels on this issue.
I think, as I stated at the last meeting, I'm very sympathetic to your position. You know, I think that you know, it's unfortunate, but from my standpoint, or from the city's standpoint, more importantly, I've got to look at the facts, and the facts are that Mr. Mercado has a lease agreement. He occupies the space. He's got all of the food service permits that are needed. I think he's demonstrated that he's qualified to operate an establishment like that, having done so. I just feel that it's not the city's position. I feel that if you were to prevail in court, that we would certainly call for a meeting immediately and have your license reinstated, and then give them an opportunity to either transfer it to another location or revoke it if necessary. I think we could, you know, cross that bridge when we get to it. You know, unfortunately, that's the position that we have. I'd like to, unless there's any questions, there's nobody in here to, there are no parties on either side in the chambers right now to either, you know, oppose or be a proponent in this matter. Having said that, I will close that out, and I'm going to make a motion to,
I just want one more point of
Sure.
information. I just want to make it clear that should this be voted on favorably to issue this common vic license, we're only issuing it for 2 months. We're into October now. In December, that license obviously has to be renewed. So we're automatically going to be looking at this again come November. I think the renewals come up. So I'm taking that into consideration also. That's a very short time, should this vote pass, that he's even going to have this license, because it is coming up for renewal again. I wouldn't doubt that the applications may have gone out. So again, I'm comfortable with that, knowing it's only going to be a couple of months, and hopefully we hear something before renewal on how this went, whichever way it went. So
do you want to put a motion in?
along with that, I am going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion to approve this common vic license. It is going to be for only 2 months. And obviously, all parties will probably be back here in 2 months if they'd like to speak on it when the renewal does come up. And on that, before I would make a motion, well, I will make a motion to approve, but there are some stipulations. Right now, what hours are you working right now at that establishment?
Currently, it's 6 a.m., Sunday through Saturday, 6 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., is that correct?
And previously, when this other owner was in here,
Please,
when the previous owner was in there, what hours were you open?
Sorry, say again, please. No.
When this owner had the common victual license, what hours did he have at that time?
6 in the morning to 10:30 p.m.
Till,
Here's where we get
so 7 to 11, and you're requesting 6 a.m.
6
to
a.m.
10:30?
to 10:30 p.m.
why 6 a.m., may I ask?
Because they have a lot of food for prep, and they have a lot of workers there. He's gonna prep the food. He's gonna start to open 6:30 to start to work 7 in the morning. Just now, open every day 6:30 in the morning.
What time are your deliveries?
11 to 10:30.
11 a.m.
11 a.m.
to 10:30 a.m. Okay, so actually, you're asking for a half hour longer than the original license.
Half hour less, an hour earlier.
Mhm.
1
Well,
hour
a half hour
earlier.
later at night. It was
No,
10:30, wasn't
it
it?
was 11, is that correct? It was, yes,
Oh, it was 11.
so
Okay.
half hour earlier, but an hour earlier in the morning.
Yeah. I'm just concerned, I mean, most times we don't have them opening that early. What do you serve in the morning? Is this a,
Breakfast, coffee. There's a lot of people work for
Eggs and-
breakfast. Eggs and coffee and chocolate, something.
okay. And what kind of entertainment is in there?
For
Do you have TV? What did the previous license
Doesn't,
have?
yeah, but last year they have 2 TVs and radio, but now we have only 1 TV, no radio. That's it.
Okay, because that's going to have to be on your license on, for entertainment. So it's just a television you have in there?
Yeah, just one TV. That's it.
Okay, so the hours you're looking for is 6:30 to 11, or 6:30 to 10:30?
6 a.m. to 10:30.
6 a.m. to
6 a.m.,
10:30.
yep.
All right, 6 a.m. to 10:30, and entertainment is just a TV?
Just TV. That's it.
Okay, so that would be just a TV. And your deliveries are after 11?
11 to 10:30.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Just 11 in the morning.
11 in the morning?
Yeah, 11 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. For
No,
delivery.
not your delivery, you're talking about deliveries for food.
deliveries.
Food deliveries.
Oh, no, just food deliveries, just all guys around 9 in the morning, 8 in the morning. I don't know, right hour, I don't have a schedule for the guy.
Okay, because we don't do deliveries before 7 o'clock.
No,
Okay. So I think that's, well, we covered the hours, the entertainment. And of course, this is, again, you'll probably get an application in another couple of weeks to renew this license, and the attorney's more than welcome to be there at the renewal. So I guess with all that in place, I'm going to be waiting for, and I would hope that the attorneys would notify us when a ruling did come down, so that we can address this as soon as possible. But on that note, I think we've covered everything else, and I'm going to make a motion to approve the common vic license.
All right, I'll second that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'll now make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second to that
I'll
motion?
second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.